Yo, this hot, this the spot. There it is, pod.com. We're interviewing the best comedians, so tune in quick and get your ears receiving them. We talking about life and life to stream right to you, from the microphone right to your home, dude. Side note, this might get embarrassing, but no, don't sweat, yo, cause there it is.
Welcome to the There It Is podcast, a comedy podcast for creators of any variety. I'm your host, Jason Farr. Let's do this. And I'm joined today by a girlfriend of the show, Justina Sparling.
Hey!
And we're going to do a little comedy shop talk today and just chat and talk about various things going on in our lives. And we've got some, I mentioned the exciting news last week that Justina was added to a team at the Magnet Theater on Megawatt. That's just the name that they give the house teams. There's Musical Megawatt and there's Regular Megawatt. And Regular is on Wednesday nights. And Justina had her first show with the team this week. Just a couple days ago, because she was out of town last week when the season started. But Justina, congrats for one. I know a lot of people are excited and happy for you. And also, what did that first show feel like doing? Like, I saw the show and you were great. But aside from, like, you know, whether or not you felt like it went great, I just mean, what did doing the show, what did being on Megawatt feel like for you for the first time?
It was really nice. I was really grateful. I don't know. I think the biggest feeling I had was just gratitude and like being able to be up there and perform and knowing that that's something that I really wanted, and being able to do that made me very grateful for the opportunity. And it was very exciting for me. Mm-hmm. And I was happy that you were there and Brighton, my sister, was there to see it, so that was important to me. Mm-hmm. And what else can I say? It was great.
Yeah, it was the first night of the season is always exciting. The second night, the audience is more just like your typical Megawatt audience to a certain degree, but there's a little extra excitement because you were having your first show with them, but then also you all already have a team name. So there's an additional excitement for that. Someone else, Alex Kornfeld, when I told him that you all had a team name, he said, "Wow, I think that's the fastest that's ever happened."
Yeah. Well, there's some people on our team who are very gung-ho about getting shit done, and so they got that down.
Yep. Getting a team name and, you know, picking music for the team and just things like that can be a real pain. And it can take forever because it's just like, you know, anyone listening, you're either on a team yourself or you work in an office. You know what that's like when everyone's just kind of taking their pretty little time, or everyone wants to stay in the brainstorming process. Like it's not necessarily always efficient, and people are just like throwing out a bunch of ideas for forever. And for it to have happened so quickly is pretty good. I mean, obviously, it doesn't need to be rushed, but, I mean, it's also great to have it done and then have an identity early on.
Yes.
Your placeholder team name was Ashley, mm-hmm. and there were two new teams.
Yes.
Mary Kate and Ashley were the two names, so that was nice. I wonder how Bianca, the new Megawatt director, will approach that in the future. Previous Megawatt director, Hannah Chase, she used cheeses. She's found cheeses, and we were Pecorino. Sweetheart was Pecorino at first, but that's a really smart way to do it when you have to come up with names, because then you never have to think about it. You just have a list of cheeses, right, or whatever, flours, whatever, and then you just say like, all right, you know, that one's this is that one. So it was real smart. I had a show that night as well because my team got renewed, and you know, I'll be transparent. I did not perform well. I hated my performance. It was the first performance in a
see
while.
you,
Yeah,
so.
because I was at 10:15.
And I'm like,
You were at 7, and I was at 10:15, as I was the 4th hour. But it's nothing against my team. It's all me. I just felt like I wasn't in the right headspace, and I wasn't focusing the way I needed to. But also, I had and this can be the death of an improviser, is to go into a show with certain challenges for yourself. Like, I want to work on this, I want to work on that, I want to make sure I do this or that. Well, and I don't mean coming up with ideas for scenes. I mean skill set stuff, sort of technique stuff of like, I want to make sure that you could say like, oh, I want to do good object work or whatever. And the thing about that is, once the scene starts, once you walk out, the scene may not present whatever challenge you have that you want to work on. So once
that's such a good point.
Yeah, so like you get in there and you're focusing on like, oh, I want to do this, and then that scene doesn't present that opportunity, and now you've missed what the scene was presenting an opportunity for.
Yeah.
And you end up kind of like eating shit, and I ate a lot of shit, I felt like that night.
Aw, dang.
And plus like Bodywork, which is such an amazing team, was also on that hour.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just loved them so much, and I was like, boy, I hate that I sucked in front of them.
Oh, I know, baby. Yeah.
Like, why did it have to happen in front of anyone, but especially them?
No, I know.
And then, of course, they go out and they do a killer set. And it reminded me of when I bought a guitar, my second guitar, when I was in college, and stupidly bought this guitar. I still was learning how to play guitar. And I didn't have a need for this second guitar, and I just bought it because I just wanted a smaller guitar or something. And the guy who owned the place was working the register, and he was like, oh, yeah, this is a nice guitar. And he starts, like, playing it. And he's obviously a good player because he owns a guitar store. And he starts, like, doing all this dazzling stuff with the guitar. And then I take it home, and, of course, I can't do that. And it's like, well, it's not the guitarist's fault. That's what it felt like watching Bodywork, where I was like, oh, they're immediately doing a good job, which is the opposite of what I was doing. And it's not the audience's fault, and it's not the stage's fault. That was totally just me. Because you can get laughs from this crowd, which I was not. But my teammates were, and that's what's more important. The team having a good show is more important than, like, getting laughs per se. But, you have shows like that.
Yeah, you do, and you move on.
Yeah.
Also, it's way worse in your memory than it actually was. That's always how it is in life and improv shows.
Yeah. And, honestly, I was walking down, and this is just one of my favorite things to do after a show, is to, like, going back home, going to the train, walking down 7th Avenue and towards Madison Square Garden. It's one of my favorite spots, just because it's such a New York looking spot.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm here and I'm performing. But I was with Lewis and Alex Kornfeld, and Alex is a teammate and Lewis is our coach, and Jonathan Fuchs was also walking with us. And Jonathan pointed like, oh, this scene was a lot of fun. It was a scene I was in. And I was like, yeah, it was. So it was nice to be like, especially to be on 7th Avenue, but it was just nice that someone else who was in the show with me was like, this was good.
Yeah.
And, and I was like, yeah, it was. And I'm just maybe being too hard on myself.
You don't want to binge on negativity like you say I do.
That's right. As you chug your wine. No, I'm just kidding. She's not chugging wine right now. She's just sipping. We're sipping today, y'all. Sipping wine during the show, which I don't think we've done. You and I.
Yeah, we do.
On the podcast?
Mm-hmm, for sure.
I felt like when Xavier was on and we had bourbon, it was the first time.
Mm-mm.
Well, I guess all that alcohol killed those brain cells.
Yes.
And that's why I forgot. But either way, we're checking. No, we're not. Okay, next topic. Enough about shows. But still on Megawatt, what are you looking forward to being on a Megawatt team?
I see this changing just because weekly commitments wear you out after a while, but I am looking forward to having a rehearsal and a show every single week. I think that will make me better at improv, and I think it will make me better at performing with these people, seeing them every week and performing with them every week and rehearsing with them every week. And I want to be better at improv, you know. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to, I don't know, it's just kind of nice to tell people you're on a house team, you know? You know, it's kind of nice, like, if someone visits, you can be like, oh, I'm performing on Wednesday night, and they can come to your show, you know?
Oh, yeah.
At the theater. You know? I don't think this is a good thing about me, but, like, I didn't invite people to student shows, not because I was embarrassed, but I just didn't think they would understand, like...
The difference between, like, a...
Yeah, I thought they would be like, what is Justina doing, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's nice for me to have a real... in quotation marks, a real performance, like a student show is a real performance as well. Like, I get that, you know. I'm just saying, like, I'm just very happy to be on the main stage.
Yeah, like when our friend Larry came from back home, he and his wife, he was saying to us, you know, about getting on a Megawatt team. He was like, that's really cool, you know, that's a good thing. So, I mean, Magnet, I'm biased, but I just think Magnet's one of the greatest theaters in the country, and we are really lucky to be able to perform on that stage, which I think is an amazing stage, but so many amazing people have graced that stage, and it's a real honor. So, I'm with you. I still feel that way 6 months in.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever get jaded and be like, oh, yeah, it's just another thing. The auditioning process I've talked about a lot with you and friends of ours, because that's a recent thing that's going on. And you had a similar experience in auditioning as I did, whereas for people who don't know, the way getting cast on a house team at Magnet, at least, is you have an audition and then there are callbacks and then you get added to a team. And then 2 days later, 3 days later, you do your first show. My audition, I just thought I did okay. I didn't think I did that well. I didn't really think I had a good chance of getting a callback, and then I did. Which was, you had a similar experience where you're like, oh, I did fine. I wanted to do a little better. And then you got a callback, and you were, as I was, like, oh wow, that happened.
Yes, I think that my auditioning this is the second time I had auditioned for Megawatt, was similar to the first time I auditioned for Megawatt. I was very, very nervous. The benefit this time was in my audition group. I knew more people in my audition group than the last time, and that was a benefit for me. I just felt more comfortable because I was there with my friends.
And how were your callbacks? How did you feel about your callback?
I felt better about the callbacks than I did about the audition.
As I did as well.
Because I think probably because I don't know why exactly, but I think I was like, at least I got a callback.
Yeah, that was probably it. Because that's how, I think that's what it was for me too.
Yeah, and there were a lot more people in my callback group that I knew than in my audition group, even though I knew quite a few people in my audition group. It was in the callback, I knew pretty much everybody. Yeah,
which helps. I think that's some of it. Going into the first night of auditions, you don't know what to expect. And then going into your callback, you're like, well, I got it. Even though whether I was surprised or not, like, I'm here and I know how it goes. Oh, and there are all these friends of mine here, or people I'm at least familiar with. So I think a lot of the anxiety that is taken into the auditions is kind of dealt with by the time callbacks, because you've already done it, and it's like, and you already realize, oh, this isn't.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because it feels like a class. It feels way more like just a class setting than an audition setting.
Yeah.
Auditions for it's funny. I went on an audition for a commercial yesterday, and there are a bunch of Magnet people there.
Yeah.
And, like someone else I knew from improv, but he's not a Magnet person. But he's really great. You saw him. He was in Fake Church.
Yes. Oh, I love
Jeff's
Fake Church.
so funny. Yeah, Fake Church is great, but Jeff's so funny. He was auditioning for the same thing because like we're all getting the same calls, and so we're all just like going in. You just see a bunch of friends there. I saw like other Megawatt people there, and it just kind of like, all right, whatever. We're all just here. Maybe one of us will get it. It'll be good. I didn't have that experience at all when I was back in South Carolina and going to auditions. I never knew anyone else, except for once. A guy I went to college with was at the audition.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
How in New York you see more people in auditions than in South Carolina?
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's especially at this particular. Whenever it's something that I hear about through Magnet, then there's always like
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Then of course that's how
3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
But the other auditions I've been to, I don't know, they're all so weird and they're all so different from each other, and you never know what to do. And it's just like, all right, that took 4 minutes of my
Right.
day, and now I'm done. It's like
Right.
this thing I spent all this time like thinking about and trying to prepare for, and it's 4 minutes and done, and I don't get another take.
Yeah.
But then stuff happened. But that's another thing. Like, I've auditioned for commercials where I was like, well, I really crapped the bed on that, and then got it.
Yeah, I know.
So, you just never know.
Well, I literally took a crap in my Megawatt audition and I got it, so
Mm-hmm.
you never know.
Well, bold. People like bold choices. My Spinks commercial was like that. I was like, I took a literal crap, and they liked it. No. Well, that's enough of auditioning and improv stuff. Let's move on to a new topic. So there are a lot of there's a lot of criticism that's gone to certain social media accounts. Ones like Fat Jew, or what's that? That's his name, right? The Fat Jew.
Fat Jew, I think. Yeah.
It's such a hard name to say without feeling like you're being racist or anti-Semitic.
And now fuck Jerry.
Yeah, and then and yeah. But there are also people who do this in a small way as well, where they basically are curating comedy on social media, where they're just finding stuff that other people, funny things that other people did, and posting it without attribution. Now, obviously, there is a clear ethical issue when it's someone making money off of it, like Fuck Jerry or the Fat Jew.
Right.
And also kind of interesting that when it comes to the Fat Jew, like Fuck Jerry was at least a media company. Like they had a product they were doing outside of their social
Right.
media. I have no idea what the Fat Jew does, but he for some reason got a lot of clout and $1 million deals for different things. It's like, but what does he do?
Right.
He doesn't have a product that he's selling or a service that he's selling. And here he is like stealing people's jokes and not attributing them. And so that's really strange, but it's obviously wrong if someone's like stealing material and then putting themselves in a position to make millions of dollars having stolen a bunch of material. But I just can't wrap my brain around this concept of somebody basically trying to raise their own status or get a bunch of followers by doing that sort of stuff. And that's most of them are not making money. Most of them are just doing it anonymously, essentially. They have like not a real name and not a real picture. You don't know who's behind the account. They have thousands and thousands of followers, and it's just like, but why are you doing this?
If you're not making money.
If you're not making money, but and if their goal is just like just to get followers and likes, like I just don't understand.
I don't know, like some of the Instagram like, I get it. Yeah, you're right. And I'm just adding to that, like, the Instagrams that I follow, like, some of the funnier ones that I follow, like, I love so much. Like, I can tell that they're being run by a younger person. You know what I mean? Like, probably much younger than me. But I like the stuff that they post, which sometimes is credited, sometimes is not. But to a younger person, I think, yeah, they only care about followers. I think that's mainly what they care about, you know?
Yeah.
But there's, like, some random... sponsored in quotation marks posts that I see on those also,
they kind of are making money then.
Yeah.
That's it.
Maybe not all of them, but yeah, some of them.
And I don't want to just like paint a broad brush and say they're all wrong. There's certain things that have themes that I like. Deuteronomy memes.
That's funny.
Well, that's PD and Shama, our friends from back home.
I didn't know they did that. That's so funny.
And they have a bunch of followers, but they are writing the content, and some people submit stuff, and they attribute, you know. But the whole point is, they're like Christian culture jokes.
Right.
There are a couple of guys in the Christian culture. They're aware of what's funny.
Right.
About like youth pastors or whatever.
Yes.
And they're making jokes about it. And that's, number one, they're writing a lot of the material, but also like there is a specific theme and you're not finding that anywhere else. They're not just like posting random jokes that they saw.
Right.
They are actually just saying like, do you want this kind of thing? Well, here, you know, and it's just a fun thing for us to do. And another thing similar to that are like accounts like Retriever Puppies.
Yeah.
Where it's someone finding a bunch of Retriever Puppy pics and videos.
Right.
But they also attribute, but it's also like, I feel like that's a service that you're providing. I like to go on Instagram and look at videos of puppies, and it's easier when I can go to just this one account and see it.
Right.
So that to me makes sense. And then they attribute the puppy or the dog's account, and so you can go to that account and follow them.
Yeah.
Or like We Rate Dogs is another one.
Yes.
Where that one's another one where it's just like, hey, we want to celebrate all the dogs out there. Just send us video, the pictures of your dog doing something, and we'll share it, and we'll tell people about your dog. Like that to me, I'm totally fine with, because it's a clear sort of thing they're doing, and they're being above board and transparent. And they will get money. Like a lot of the dog accounts, they get free stuff.
Right.
Because especially if they get a bunch of followers, then they just start getting a bunch of free stuff, and ultimately that's just good for the dog.
Yeah.
It helps out the family, but it's good for the dog. So, you know, I don't have a problem with any of that. But I do have a major problem when I see you go to the feed, like the search feed, and you see the same thing that a bunch of different people are just reposting.
Right.
And they're not attributing where it's from at all.
Yeah, and that's frustrating, especially because, like, it's just like, not exactly like this, but if you hear a song and you're like, who wrote this song? Because I'm interested in their music. And I want to hear more about this specific voice, you know?
Right.
And yeah, it's just like that.
I never want to like it when it's the person who just reposted it.
Yeah, without crediting.
Either or. Like, especially if they don't credit it. But if they did credit it, then I go to that account and I like it.
Yeah.
I find their post of it and I like it, because I think they deserve the credit. I don't want to, like, you know, them get lost in it, because that happens a lot. And if they have a bunch of content I like, then there was some artist who, I think he paints a bunch of superhero stuff, and some random superhero account shared it, and I went to that artist and I liked the post, and then I followed that artist. Right. Because that to me is helping the artist.
Yes.
Not liking something they had nothing to do with.
Right, but I think that if they get credit and you're liking the post where they were given credit, it's still likes for them.
Sure.
Because you're enhancing that post, and that means more people are going to see that post where they were given credit.
Yeah, that is, so it's not all bad. But I still want to like it for them.
Yeah.
Because then they can take that somewhere and say, hey, I have X amount of followers and this amount of engagements with my posts directly. and they can't really read the other ones as easily.
Right.
Since it's not theirs. Final topic.
Ooh.
Yes. So it's March Madness.
Yes.
And last year, not during March, but after March, I did a bracket. I guess it was in May.
Yes, I think it
I think I
was.
called it May Madness. And that was for comedy duos. And it took a lot of time because there were a lot of comedy duos I knew, but a lot that I didn't know. And I had to sort of educate myself to seed the bracket properly. And I do want to do another bracket this year. And I have some ideas. And we're coming up on May, so I might as well think of this now. So I wrote down 5 different ideas over the last year. One is sketch show. That could be a
Okay.
topic, or the bracket theme. Another was comedy movies, and then another was sitcoms and stand-ups. Well, that would be as difficult as comedy duos and late night show hosts.
Interesting. Can I look at that list? It's easier for me to see them here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I feel like late night show hosts, like, I know there's a lot more than I think there are. Mm-hmm. I still don't think there's enough to do this. Stand-ups, I think, is a great one. I think you should definitely consider doing that one. Sitcoms, I think, is a great one. You should definitely consider doing that one. Comedy movies, for sure. Sketch show, I don't think you should do sketch shows.
There
I think you
enough.
should do sketches. Because there are some golden sketches that stand out, from Monty Python to SNL to...
The State or...
Yeah. What's that one that the guy... the blue man from Tobias, what show is he in?
Oh, that was I want to say the wrong name.
And the audition sketch, that's the funniest sketch of all time.
That was Mr. Show, and they're
Yes.
on Netflix as like Bob and Dave or something.
Yes.
It's just their names. But it's the same people, it's even the same writers, like Scott
I didn't realize
Aukerman and
that.
everything. Like it's the same people. They just
Mr.
can't
Show,
call it
though, is
Mr.
what I'm
Show.
talking about.
Right. They can't call it Mr. Show, but it's essentially Mr. Show.
Yeah, I would think you could do sketches. I mean, I know there's hundreds, if not thousands, of sketches out there, but I think there are some ones that you could limit it to, or maybe sketches from the 80s, sketches from the 90s, sketches from the 2000s,
That is an interesting approach, and there are enough because you couldn't do enough sketch shows because they're like 10.
Right.
I think there are enough. I am fine if I only think of like 16 and do a bracket from that and don't
Yeah.
do it as like 32 like I did last year. Because that was just so many people to go through. So I kind of like the idea. It was like, oh yes, late night show hosts, because I can rattle off a bunch.
You know what you could do? I don't know if you'd like this, but like show hosts and like, Bob Barker could be on there,
I see what
and
you're saying.
Alex Trebek and Oprah, who would win.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, I just think that might be fun.
But let's do comedy though. Comedy show host.
I get you.
But Oprah would win. Yeah. Ellen might be, unless she's in the same division, she could be in the championship against
Right.
Oprah. I could see that. Yeah, see, I'm already starting to think about all the different hosts that exist. Like late night hosts. And I don't mean late night the show, I just mean like talk show hosts.
Right.
Also, if I were to do that,
I guess you could do like Jordan Schlansky and Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart. Technically, would those fit in with those?
not Jordan Schlansky. Oh, do you mean Jordan Klepper?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's Jordan Schlansky?
He's the guy who works at Conan.
Yeah.
The producer, and they don't know really what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do Jordan Klepper and obviously Jon Stewart and Craig Kilborn.
Right.
And Trevor Noah and
Who's the Scottish guy that we used
Craig
to...
Ferguson?
Yeah, Craig Ferguson. Oh,
Yeah. You know, and then now I wonder, and probably not, but Nah, because he's not comedy.
Also, like, guess what?
gonna
You
say
could
Tom
totally
Snyder,
do late night
but-
show hosts. I'm kind of thinking of, like, currently.
Oh.
Like, overall, there's plenty.
Almost currently. There's so many currently. But you're right. Like, overall, like, if you go back to Steve Allen.
Yeah.
Then you
there's
can-
plenty.
there are a ton.
Yeah, disregard me saying there's not enough. There are enough.
Yeah, and I probably still could. You could probably still find 32. Even though I want to think I would only find like 20. You probably could find 32 when you go back that far. Well, we'll see. We will see what happens. My brain is really excited about late night show hosts.
Oh,
but,
I know.
because I watched it so much. The question is, should we count Larry Sanders?
Yes.
Fictional host. Well, that was today's episode. The other announcement, I'm just going to take a spring break. Give it a couple of weeks. Because I have a lot of people that have said yes to being on the podcast. People I'm excited about having on. It's just like finding a time to interview them.
Spring break.
So we're going on spring break.
2019.
Yeah. A couple of weeks. Which, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. Because a real spring break is a week.
Yes.
But I'm not going to take a week off. A week off means nothing in the
You should
podcast
take
world.
a week of episodes off, so take off 7 weeks.
7 weeks, yeah. That'd be so long. It'd feel so weird if I took that long off intentionally. I mean, if my computer goes down and I take 7 weeks off, then fine. But
What was that, a fall break? When did that happen?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here, Justina.
I live here.
That's true.
But you're welcome.
And congrats again
Thank you.
for being on a team. And it's got Heavy Hitters' previous guest, Lorena Rusi, on
No,
your team.
I'm so excited to be on a team with her. I can't believe I'm on a team with her.
She's amazing.
She's like a superstar to me. I can't believe
She
it.
is, yeah. Yeah, and you have a superstar coach.
Yes.
Yeah, Phoebe, is it Tyers? Is that how you pronounce her last
I'm
name?
not sure how.
I think it's Tyers. And we've seen her a bunch, and I've heard people talk about her a bunch, but I've heard 2 different pronunciations for her last name, and I've never officially met her to get the correct last name pronunciation. But she's great. She's a really great improviser, but she's also, from what I understand, a really great coach. So you all are in very good hands.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll be back. You can just follow us on, of course, Facebook and Twitter at There It Is Pod, and find out when our next episodes are coming back, and about the bracket that we are going to go with. Just keep following us. I'll try to post some things. Maybe what I'll do is I will retweet a bunch of people from the There It Is Pod Twitter account, but they'll get attribution because I'm retweeting. I'll just curate it. That's what the There It Is Pod Twitter account will be. It's funny things on Twitter. Well, until next time, be good to each other.
The music for the theme song was created by Neil Brooks. The rap was written and performed by Nick Acevedo. The logo for There It Is was created by Jeff Prater. The There It Is podcast is produced by Jason Farr.